I'd always been a very bubbly, happy, giggly person. My behavior changed drastically. I became a different person entirely almost over time. Then my older sister, who's also my best friend, came to me and asked me if anybody had ever hurt me. For about 3 years, my father's friend and basketball coach had been sexually molesting me.
Jess was 10, and she told me she never wanted to see her grandfather again, and after a lot of questioning, she came out that he had been molesting her.
Fewer than 1% of the cases coming through the Children's Advocacy Center for Denton County are perpetrated by strangers. In almost every case, the child knows his or her abuser.
Moved to Denton County in 1979, and about 1984 adopted a sibling group. We knew too that they had had a background of severe sexual abuse. The oldest child had made an outcry and had put the mother's boyfriend away for 50 years. The mother was actually one of the abusers, though, and she was not ever charged. She basically got away with it. She lost her children. Those children were in probably 15 different foster placements over the years. The story began there with therapy and trying to give them a normal life.
First of all, she said, "This isn't going to happen anymore. Now that you've said something, you don't have to worry about it and you'll never have to fear him again." And then she called the family meeting, which we had never done before. And she said, "Well, somebody's been hurting Jenna." And my dad immediately got up and went towards the door and was like, "Okay, I'm going to kill him." That's when my sister said, "No, we're going to do this the right way. We're going to do this the legal way." I remember thinking that this was going to be a safe place.
We needed to have a more collaboration with all the agencies that would be involved, our police officers and our CPS workers and volunteers, to come in and make a safe place for the kids to come in and tell their story.
From the very beginning, they start feeling that there's a comfort and that there's a safety there.
That first visit to the Advocacy Center was when Rose came out and said to me, "I promise you that if you bring your daughter here to counseling, she will be okay."
You have a child that basically we're asking them to come into an environment and tell about their first sexual experience. If you were to put an adult out in a public forum and ask them a question like that, they would be appalled that you would even ask something like that. And in essence, that's what we're asking of this child.
1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be a victim of sexual abuse before they turn the age of 18.
People just need to know that there's a place to go. There's a place that you can get help.
They know that this is a place for kids and this is a place for families.
Having a forensic interviewer who is child-friendly, who is trained in soliciting this information without adding information that's not true, and making it pleasing environment for the child.
The sexual assault nurse examiners are called SANEs. We were trained by the Office of the Attorney General and are certified through the Office of the Attorney General to do sexual assault exams on children and adults. Many times we are able to hear where they have been assaulted and perhaps be able to document injuries. From the very beginning, they start feeling that there's a comfort and that there's a safety there. And so we provide that extra bit of safety. We're going to be able to tell them that they're perfect, just as they're made.
Our mission at the Children's Advocacy Center is and will always be to provide justice and healing for abused children through interagency collaboration.
When I went to a psychologist, they diagnosed me with post-traumatic stress disorder, and the #1 cure for that is social support.
While the children are in their groups, they're separated by gender and by age group. Their parents are also in groups so that the whole family can come in and can get support.
There were other kids there that were going through the same stuff she was going through.
You can see them scanning the shelves and they're looking for that perfect stuffed animal, and then they hold on to that stuffed animal. And some of the families after the interview can be in the building for an hour, sometimes a lot longer, And so having that stuffed animal after the interview is a comfort for them. They are invited after their interview to trace their hand on a large sheet of butcher paper, and they are encouraged to write their name, their first name, and their age.
Before the Advocacy Center existed, there was very little chance that the children would receive justice. Basically, the criminal justice system was inadvertently and unintentionally saying to our children, we don't believe you, because the kids were seeing the perpetrators go free.
We rely on the center, and the center relies on us to be able to bring and gather the information, to collect the evidence, to get that good interview, to work closely with the district attorney, to make sure that we have a good, solid case.
And in telling their story, we've been able to prosecute a lot more offenders.
We all have the same goal, to provide justice and healing for children.
And that's what happens in the center. It comes full circle because the justice and healing go hand in hand.
I think any time that a child gets up on the stand and testifies is courageous.
It's very hard for a child and family to get the full amount of justice that they deserve if they're not healed enough to be able to even face that offender in the courtroom.
When I did ultimately go into court, I felt very, very empowered and very, very prepared.
In my experience, my 30-some years in policing, we've never been able to actually bring together everybody, including investigators and the prosecutors, to work a case as diligently as we are at the Advocacy Center.
Justice swift, sure, and extreme for anybody who would molest a child.
People supporting this project are basically saying, we want to see the offenders brought to justice, and we'll do what it takes to make that happen. In 1996, the conviction rate for those who severely abused a child in Denton County was 8%. Since opening in 1997, the conviction rate has been more than 70% every year. Each of those children has a story, and those children are like brave little soldiers when they go back to that forensic interview room and tell their story. And that's just amazing that they're able to do that in the first place, but then to see them come around and to prevail over that perpetrator who hurt them, over that person who they trusted, who unjustly abused that child, to see those kids prevail and win, that's the biggest victory for our kids and our families, and that is the biggest victory for us at the center.
We can help them see that light at the end of the tunnel.
And that's exactly what the Advocacy Center offered me as a victim and offers all the other victims.
It was a godsend. It was a really dark time in our life when we were going through the center, but it was the light at the end of the tunnel.
We tell the kids they're going to be okay, that they can keep coming, that they're going to be okay, that they've got a future ahead of them, they're going to have a great life.
She's a normal 17-year-old with a great drive to help other kids, like the Advocacy Center has helped her.
I think it's one of our most prestigious agencies in the community, and people know that they're getting action. They're not just coming serving on a board. They're not just putting their name on the dotted line. Something is happening. We're making a difference in the community. We're making a difference in somebody's life.
Today, our children are believed by the criminal justice system. The perpetrators are being put in prison, being put behind bars. That means our kids have a chance of healing.
So at that point, I started to feel a little bit of relief, like, okay, this is the beginning of new things, of great things to come, of healing and restoration.